Speed is a movie starring Keanu Reeves where he has to keep a bus moving at 50 miles per hour. It's also the rate at which something moves through space. A lot of things are fast. Cars are fast, planes are fast, but today, we want to talk about superheroes that are fast. The Marvel Universe is full of fast heroes, and today, we'll be ranking the 10 speediest to ever grace the screen or the pages of a comic book. Welcome back to The Binger.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Captain America is known first and foremost for his Americanness. He literally wears his patriotism on his sleeve, as well as his chest, head, legs, feet, and shield. In the MCU, he's played by the most generic, white-bread, Coca-Cola looking American guy ever, Chris Evans. But Cap has another quality that often gets overlooked. He's really fast. In fact, the first thing he ever did as a superhero was run really fast. First, after his transformation from scrawny Steve Rogers into the buff Captain America, he was thrust into action after a Hydra agent stole some plans. The spy drove away in a car, and there was no other car to pursue him, so Cap just put his head down and booked it, and believe it or not, he caught him. Although speed may not exactly be his defining characteristic, it's easy to forget that Captain America was created in a lab to be a super soldier. That doesn't mean he's just good at one thing, he's super at everything, which means he's got super speed. So even though in the past few years you might associate him with leading support groups, don't forget that Captain America also loves to run. But it's not only Americans who can run fast. In fact, in the world of long-distance running, they're actually miles behind their Kenyan and Ethiopian counterparts. But we're not just talking about long-distance running, we're talking about Marvel. And even though it's not technically speaking a country in the real world, the nation of Wakanda has produced one of the undisputed fastest Marvel characters out there. T'Challa is the king of Wakanda, where most kings would probably be sitting on their behinds all day, granting wishes, denying requests for amnesty, and eating suckling pigs. T'Challa has a little more responsibility, and with it, he's also got more power. As King of Wakanda, T'Challa has access to a special plant known as the heart-shaped herb. The herb is not just pretty looking, it gives him the powers that turn him from a guy who's in good shape with lots of martial arts training to a superhero, Black Panther. The plant makes him stronger and more agile, but what happens when you combine strength with agility? You guessed it, speed. Then add on the facts that his sister Shuri is a technological genius who makes him a fancy suit that amplifies the supernatural abilities that he already has, and you've got a very fast man.
Guess what I call them? Sneakers.
But even with the fancy suit and the cool plant powers, T'Challa is still human, and as a human, there are limits to his powers. In other words, we probably won't see him running around in sandals anytime soon. When you think of a spider, your first thought probably has something to do with how you don't want them in your bed. Or maybe that pseudo-fact pops into your head. You know the one? People are always saying it, that the average human swallows 8 spiders in their sleep every year? Well, not only is that not true, but it's also a digression. So why are we talking about spiders? Because they're fast, obviously. The giant house spider, the fastest spider, can run 1 mile per hour. Compared to a human, that's not fast, but everything is relative. And if you think about how small these things are, it starts to seem a little faster. The human body is the size of hundreds of spiders, so that little spider, it's covering a lot of ground in its tiny little world. So then, imagine scaling up that speed in relation to its size. Imagine a human who could run that fast, like a Spider-Man? After being bit by a radioactive spider, Peter Parker gets all sorts of spider abilities. He can lift things that are way bigger than him, he can climb on walls, he can jump really far like one of those horrifying jumping spiders, and of course, he can scurry along way faster than any human could hope to. When you start to think about it, you realize that Spidey's speed is actually one of his most important attributes. It's what allows him to make up for his size in comparison to his often bigger and more powerful foes. blows. It's how he squeezes in so many hits on a big strong dude like Thanos. But the thing that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man is the fact that even though he's got these superpowers, he's still a regular guy, bumbling around trying to make ends meet. He's got a day job, and even though he's definitely not the best employee on Earth, his super speed is definitely a plus when he's delivering pizzas.
Pizza time.
War Machine, most recently portrayed by the one and only Don Cheadle, is obviously quite fast. No offense to the web-slinger, but there's just no way to compete with a guy wearing a jet-powered suit. And War Machine, before he was War Machine, was just a guy named James Rose who just so happened to be a very skilled pilot with a degree in aviation engineering. As you could probably guess, if you put an expert pilot into a high-tech flying suit, the guy will probably be pretty fast. The only reason he's not higher up in this list is that his suit, although it's fast, is weighed down by all the weapons that are packed into it. I mean, his name is War Machine for God's sake. You don't just get that name by being fast. The different versions of the suit have included everything from missile launchers to particle beam dischargers to retractable miniguns on his shoulders. All those weapons end up slowing him down, but still, he is pretty fast.
Get out.
This weird purple dude most definitely doesn't have the name recognition of some of the other characters on this list.
So who's this purple weirdo?
Vision!
Surprised you actually knew who that was.
But at least he's fast. One thing you may have noticed about Vision is that jewel in the middle of his forehead. That's not just jewelry. It's functional. It absorbs energy from the sun, which Vision then converts into power. When you start to think about it, it's actually not that crazy. It's pretty much like a plant or a human taking vitamin D pills in the winter. But the point is, he harnesses energy straight from the sun. He also has the ability to enter into another unknown dimension and change his density, and thus changing how fast he travels through space. A great example of his speed is the way he zips around and pops out of nowhere during the fight scene in Captain America: Civil War. The Hulk is known for a lot of different things. He's known for being played by Mark Ruffalo and Ed Norton only a few years apart. He's also known for sharing tacos, but the Hulk is pretty much known for being really strong. But what people often forget, especially in the era of the MCU, is that the Hulk's strength isn't just limited to his upper body. He's also got super strong legs, which means he can jump really far, really fast. To give some context for this, it's useful to go way back to the Hulk of 2003, when he wasn't played by Mark Ruffalo or Ed Norton, but Eric Bana. There's a whole scene in this movie where instead of catching a plane, a train, or an automobile, the Hulk just jumps across the desert.
I'm always angry.
This one here is pretty obvious. We've already been through the facts that War Machine is pretty fast even with all those extra guns weighing him down. Not only does Iron Man not have such heavy gear, but you know Tony Stark is saving all the best stuff for himself.
Genius billionaire playboy philanthropist.
This one's not even fair, even with the stiff supernatural competition of the Marvel world. Thor's a god, for God's sake. He can fly across a whole galaxy in a matter of moments, he can outrun dragons, and pretty much any mortal you can name, which makes it pretty hard for those poor bad guys. The only hope for the villains of the world is that they'll catch him on a lazy day.
Oh my god!
Captain Marvel is pretty much Marvel's response to Superman. She's pretty much the go-to Deus Ex Machina for any Marvel property, popping in and out of nowhere and defeating whoever needs defeating with her super everything. While we don't know the true extent of her powers just yet, we do know that she is crazy fast. Funny business fast. Although, she's not actually the fastest.
Is that like a personal attack or something? Or is that a request? Do you think I should?
With a name like Quicksilver, how could he not be the fastest character on this list? The word quick is even in his name. His whole thing is that he's fast. He can run faster than Mjolnir can fly. He's faster than Fry after 300 cups of coffee. He's faster than a speeding bullet and even the speed of sound. He's faster than, well, pretty much anything. If you don't believe us, then take a look and see for yourself.
What's up?
So there you have it, the speediest Marvel heroes. What do you think of our ranking? Do you agree? Or did we put them in the wrong order? Or even, is there anyone we missed? Make your way down to the comments and let us know. And when you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to The Binger for more.